know.
You never know.
Never know. Test. Okay. I mean, keep your eye on the prize.
Truly? Darkly? Creepy.
Keep your eye on the prize. It's Quinn and Kerry. So it's been weird. I've been alone in my house for now 2 days. And because my dad is going to get some surgery. Keep him in your thoughts and your thoughts. It's actually a bummer. He was going to go get his one shoulder fixed, but unfortunately, right before he went to the surgery, he snapped his other shoulder.
Oh, God, really?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
The guy can't catch a fucking break. So they're doing the newly snapped shoulder because he has a little bit more mobility. Whatever. It's going to be okay. But him and my mom are out of town. And I think I was just thinking about this. Like, it feels very weird that I'm alone. Like, I feel very weird that I'm alone in my parents' house. I think for reasons that would feel weird for folks. But also, I realized that I have not been alone in a place for over 3 months.
Wow, that's wild.
Like, I've always shared a home with somebody else, right? Like, there's always been people around. Like, can you imagine?
Do you like the feeling?
I mean, I love the
alone?
feeling. I love the feeling.
Yeah.
I think it would feel even better if I wasn't sick. I came down with something yesterday and I feel sick. But other than that, which is nice to feel sick alone, but also sometimes you're like, oh, somebody take care of me. But either way, I just am like, so it's crazy that this was my normal for years.
Oh, completely.
And you have not been alone like ever? For the last...
Yeah, like ever.
For like...
Ever is really accurate. I haven't been alone, I don't think.
Because you've always had roommates or Matt, right?
Mm-hmm. You mean, but like, have I been alone in a house? I've been alone in a house for a matter of hours and loved it, but I've not been alone in a house like overnight for I don't know, a decade. Like...
Oh, it's nice. It's, you know what, it's really nice. But I do think, like, even so my parents have a dog, but my sister took the dog. Like, I had the dog one night, and my sister came and took the dog to her place because she's, shares ownership with my parents. And she wanted the dog, rightfully so. It's a really cute dog, and she's very cuddly and sweet. And, like, you'll lay down, and the dog will lay on top of you. Like, the dog is never far away from you, which is very fun.
That's cute.
It's very cute. Mm-hmm. And so even last night was my first night without the dog, and I was like, oh my God, like, where is she? Where is she? Like I felt the absence of her here. Mm-hmm. But feeling a little under the weather, but I feel like it's a good thing that I'm going to get sick now before I go to Edinburgh so that I don't get sick for a month.
I do like it when people think that way. Only because
I think that way.
I usually get sick over and over and over. When I get
Quinn,
sick,
I actually don't need that negativity right now. I really don't.
That's too bad because I was gonna my thing I wrote I wanted to chat with you about is very negative.
Wait, tell me.
Unfortunately.
I'm in for negative. Okay, I changed my mind. My whole identity's changed. I'm shifting into negative gear. Click, click. Let's go.
Oh, wow. I saw it register on your face.
Yeah.
So we went last Sunday to our friend's lake house for the day.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful and like epic and a very amazing lake with paddle boards and kayaks and a diving area. And it was just like very, very special. But on the way there, I was driving and I'm in the middle lane of a 3-lane highway.
Quinn.
Or, like a 6-lane highway, but my direction is 3. And I'm in the middle. So I have cars on either side of me, front of me, behind me. No shoulder at all to speak of. It's not like it was one of those shoulders that goes off into the woods or something. It was like we were still coming out of the city and it was almost like elevated.
Yeah.
Where you're like, there's nowhere to go is the best way I can describe it. You're trapped. And I'm like, oh my God, am I hallucinating? Because out of the corner of my eye, I suddenly think I see a wolf. And I'm like, what? And before my mind can start to capture what's happening, whatever the creature is, I watch like fly right in front of my window and under the car. Boom.
Oh, Quinn.
And Matt screamed like a banshee, the most feminine, high-pitched screech.
Oh, no.
So loud and so shocking that Koa burst into tears in the back seat based on the scream.
Yeah.
To be clear, based on Matt screaming. And was like, why did you do that? And Matt was like, sorry, but mom just, mom hit something. And I was like,
no, don't
and I
say
was
that.
like, just covering my mouth, like not talking, like covering my mouth and just like stare. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I
tears
do know.
welling
I
up
do know.
and just staring at the road.
Oh, Quinn.
Like, could not breathe. And I was like, what was that? What was that? What was that? What was that? And he's like, that was a husky. That was like a really beautiful husky. And I said, and I ran over it. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, did I just kill that dog? And he's like, for sure. But like, even if you didn't, nobody stopped. Nobody could stop. You couldn't stop. The car behind us didn't stop. Everybody ran over that husky collectively. But I was like, where the fuck did that come from? Because it wasn't like, you know,
you're in the middle of a highway, you're elevated. You're like, how did this dog get here?
It was like it fell out of the sky. I mean, it was so insane. And the only thing we can think of is that it must have jumped out of somebody's car. Because it appeared out of nowhere suddenly. And there had nowhere to, no origin story makes sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, Quinn, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
So crazy. Like Matt was like, do you need a switch? And I was like, I just need to not talk. And I just like was like, what? Just driving.
You couldn't do anything. There was nothing you could have done differently.
There wasn't.
Oh, Quinn, I'm so
No, but I will
sorry.
say this. What was so strange about it, and Matt was like, you did the exact right thing. And I was like, there was no other thing to do. But it was very safe that I stayed the course in the sense that we would have died if I swerved one direction, another, or stopped. But, and I couldn't have, like, actually my brain would not have allowed for that. Time didn't move in a way that I had, like,
it sounds like it happened in
to reflect
like
and
this
decide.
blink of an eye, a split second. You couldn't have done anything differently.
The blink of an eye. It was just like so odd because I know that had to have been somebody's pet that they like loved. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't stop and like go to it and like see that it's dead and like look at its collar. It was a highway and it was like everyone just had to keep going. And it was this horrible feeling of like a hit and run vibe where this like was very impactful for someone. And my outward behavior, not my inward, but my outward behavior suggested like...
You didn't care.
A lack of care because we just had to keep going. And that felt really strange where I was like, I care so much. But even if we like got off the highway and got on going the opposite direction, we would be in the same boat where we just have to like speed by.
That poor dog. The poor
talk about... Because I would have, even when we got to the lake, I like went out on a paddleboard by myself to the middle of the lake quickly. Like, did not tell anybody right away. And then came back and Matt was like, is it okay if I tell people? And I was like, yeah, I guess. I was like, just like, don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, you feel it's that like it's taken agency away from you. You know the ripple effect. And that's really hard, Quinn. I'm so sorry that happened. I'm so sorry that happened.
So I was talking to Braden and I was like, well, I'm never going to drive again. And I was like, because, you know, when you drive, you could just be driving and run over a dog. And that might happen at any point. And he was like, do you know what you're saying is a trauma response, right? He's like, that you won't drive again, that you think it's just going to happen to you again. Like, that's a very, like, textbook trauma response to this having happened. And I was like, I don't really care, Braden. I'm just never going to drive again.
Were you on your way back from that? No, you were on your way too.
And now we have a 5-hour drive tomorrow. How do I break it to Matt that that's all him?
Well, you know, I think you've already broken it to him. It sounds like. I think Matt is a very understanding person, and I have a feeling Matt is going to go, I got this. I can drive. Where are you going camping?
We're going to Pennsylvania to like a Airstream trailer for a couple nights, then to Rosie's in Indiana, then to Jellystone.
Where's Jellystone?
It's also in Pennsylvania. It's like our halfway point. We're like we created these pit stops because her place is so far so that we could like get
Make
there
it
and have
full.
it make sense. Because last year what happened was we booked airfare, found out it was canceled the morning of, had already told the kids we were going, we're already packed, had already rented a car, like so many things were in play. And then she was like, she lives across the street from us. And she's like, well, you know, I just drive every year. And it felt like crazy that we'd be like, well, the flight's canceled, we're not coming. So I was like, I guess we'll do that too. And then we ended up having such a great time. And the kids were like,
they loved
truly
it. Yeah.
in heaven, like so happy there that we were like, I guess we'll do this, even though it's kind of insane to like pick a place that's a 10-hour drive. You know, it's just like seeing them so happy, and they're like, can we do it again next year? And we're invited again. So yeah, we're doing it.
So we're going next year. So you're here. So you're going.
We're going. Here we are. It's next year and we're going.
Quinn, wow. That's some trauma that happened to you this week. I'm sorry.
Can you believe?
I mean, I'm so grateful that you are all okay. I mean, I know emotionally you're not 100%, but I'm so glad that physically your bodies are okay. I also know how traumatizing it is to watch that. Like, I know Matt screaming didn't help, but it sounds like that was his trauma response, right? Like,
it was, I can't actually explain enough how weird that scream was. Like,
I'm so glad you've never heard it before.
Scream.
I'm so glad you've never heard it before. I'm so grateful.
I don't know if we would have gotten married if I knew we had that in him. It was really upsetting, like a noise that I never need to hear again, where I was just like, what is wrong with you? Like, I was like, I might have killed a dog, but you should be very embarrassed. Like, you should be ashamed, in fact.
I also think, like, listen, maybe Matt's not used to being a passenger, but, like, you know, I'm in the car with, my dad's a pretty aggressive driver. You know, my dad's a zoom guy. You know, he used to drive a truck, so he treats his, like, big Toyota car like it's like a sports car. So he'll, like, stop quick and things like that. And I've, like, trained myself because I know it's not good for our driver for you to scream or gasp or things like that. Like, you have to stay calm in a car because it'll freak the driver out, and the driver is operating the big machine. So, like, I've gotten really good about keeping my gasps to a minimum because you know what? Like, that's not good. You know who's not gotten very good at keeping her gasps at a minimum? My mom. And they've been married a very long time. And it's amazing that she is still not used to his driving. You know, but my dad, I do trust my dad. He is a good driver. He's a very good driver. But,
well, I'm not a great driver, but it had nothing. It had no bearing on.
You did the right
incident,
thing. I mean,
really,
it's hard to say that you did the right thing. You did the only thing that was available to you.
It was the only thing.
It was the only thing that was available to you.
And so we did it, and now we're killers. Of like a really pretty dog. Like,
did Matt? Wait, by the way, when Matt revealed
creature.
when Matt revealed what it was, did he say that was a beautiful husky? That's what you said. I believe you said when you said what was it, and Matt said that was a beautiful husky, because that actually feels really cruel. Like, if somebody was like, "What did I just do?" I'd be like, "I think that I probably would say, I think that might have been a dog. Are you okay?" I wouldn't have been like, that was a majestic,
I don't remember.
gorgeous,
I do remember him saying,
husky.
like, Mom killed a dog, or we ran over a dog, and Ko was like...
He told the kids that right away?
And Ko was like, well, don't yell like that. That was really scary. Jesus. Just a dog.
Oh, my God. Maybe you should get pets. Maybe you should get pets. Oh, my God.
Braden was reminding me that when we were younger, I think it was his mom ran over an elk or hit an elk in Colorado. You'd think you'd just die. Actually, I was telling somebody last night this story, and they were like, "Oh, I knew somebody that hit a moose." Or they were telling a story of somebody else that told them that they knew someone that hit a moose, and they were like, "Wow, a moose, that's really crazy." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, they died." What?
That's like not. That's a wild thing. You know, I do love the sharing of your own life story, but the "they died" punchline, I don't know if it's like a helpful. Because, like, I think when
They
you hit
die.
a moose, it's like hitting a stationary car. Like, it's like hitting a brick wall. Like, I think because they're
Totally.
so tall.
But I do know when Braden's mom hit the elk, then she like called to check because you call animal patrol or whatever to drag it out of the road, and then she called to check because she didn't know if it had lived, and so she called and she said, I wanted to call about the elk. I hit it earlier tonight, and they said, oh yeah, everything's okay, and she said, oh my God, it lived? And they're like, oh, no, it died, but everything's okay. Like, you can come pick up the meat if you want. Because in Colorado, the law is like, if you hit an animal, you're entitled to the meat, which seems like a really crazy way to hunt things, but factually true.
Wow. What an interesting...
She did not go get the meat. I don't think she knew how to harvest elk meat, but...
I don't...
Because I don't think they cut it up for you. I don't think they're like, we made it into elk steaks and elk burgers.
Could she donate it? To be like, who wants elk? I hit an elk.
Know.
Guys, I did it. I got a 6-point deer. I didn't shoot it.
Somebody
I
wants
ran
that
over it
meat.
with my car. Somebody wants it. Someone's going to make some jerky
Colorado,
out of it.
they do serve elk. They do serve elk places. It's a...
Have you
a
ever
lot of
eaten
game
elk?
restaurants.
Have you ever
Yeah,
eaten?
I'm sure that I have. I think I've had an elk burger before. It's very lean meat. That made you gross?
I don't know. No, I didn't. It just is like I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
I'm a pretty
eat
adventurous eater.
burgers.
I kind of like to try anything, to be honest. I've
I've
had
eaten
ostrich burger and
yeah, I've eaten
kangaroo. I've eaten
an alligator.
yeah.
I have.
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
Why not?
It's already dead.
I'll try it once. Exactly. I'll try it once. I just don't think I go like.
Sorry to all you vegetarians. I know that it's already dead argument doesn't exactly warm your heart, but I'm a very adventurous eater, and I will try just about anything once.
Is there any food you don't like?
Oof. No, there's only foods that I take issue with. Of course, I don't like whatever that 1,000-year egg thing is, or like something that's really, really upsetting.
It's not actually 100 years old. It's not actually a century egg. It's just fermented.
I don't like that. Like, there's a couple things that are too rich for my blood, but
yeah,
I don't. I like lamb chops, for instance, but or shank. There's like a few cuts of lamb I like, but other cuts of lamb are too gamey for me. I don't like meats that are too gamey. I don't like really fatty meat. Like, there's things I don't like, but it's mostly that I take issue with a misuse of items. Like, I find that sun-dried tomatoes are often used too liberally and poorly, but I like a sun-dried tomato when you're doing it the right way. Like, it's more that I'm just, I'm like, nobody knows how to use this thing. So when I see it on a menu, I sometimes avoid it because I just am like, I don't trust you.
Yeah. Quinn, it was interesting. I think that's an interesting thing. There's no food I can say off the top of my head that I don't like. I mean, there's certainly food I prefer, but I would never be like, ugh, never that food. I never feel that way about a food.
There's not a never.
There's not a never for me either. And maybe that's the thing that ties us together.
That's the tie that binds. That's the hand that rocks the cradle.
By the way, you're listening to Truly
Darkly Creeply. I'm Quinlan Posner.
And I'm Kerry Ipema. And we have to thank some
Patreon
people.
subscriber.
Yeah. How about
Brienne?
Brienne. You are so tan. You're not a pale person. Maybe you're not because it is summer. Wear your sunscreen, Brienne. Do you like Anne? I don't know. Do you have a friend named Anne? But you probably like Anne Rule because she talks about how men are cruel. And Anne Rule, you rule. Please stay in school. But Brienne, you're the man. I'll see ya.
Let's hand her a fan. Because she's our fan. Brienne. That was perfect. Let's do one more. Kelly O. Kelly, we wanna Sally. You are friendship in a little package. Will you open it and say, oh, I'm Kelly O. Uh-oh, I guess I got a package.
Kelly O, I hope you stay and don't go. Kelly O, you are not a hoe. Kelly O. Oh my God, you are a star in our eyes. Don't come in disguise, Kelly.
Then we won't know who you are. We might run over you with our car. It was a dog last week. This week it's an upgrade to a human being. You know what I mean? No.
What I like about this is that Quinn has already resigned herself to sharing that story about the dog with all of you, because now it's in every joke in our intro, so there's no way she could possibly take it out.
Can't cut it.
Quinn, I'm so sorry. You've committed.
I've committed.
By the way,
a little bit.
I would ask, I know we have to cut this, but how was how's the editing going for 182? That was a fucking journey, man. I'm so sorry. That was very frustrating for you and me.
Dear readers, can I just say that Kerry and I had a conversation in 182 that we knew we had to cut, and it's a big part of the episode, and we were joking because it's such sensitive matter that we were basically like, oh my God, ha ha ha, I can't believe we are recording this. And then I was like, as soon as I get the episode, I'm just going to cut this part out because I'm like actually anxious it would somehow not get cut out. We were joking about that. Now that episode has been glitching and I have had to cut that conversation a total of 3 times so far. And it is absolutely crazy because it's like it keeps regenerating with that conversation inside it. It's like the thing I joked about is coming after me.
It's coming into fruition.
And I'm like, I will never say anything on a hot mic again.
Listen, it's been the journey. Like, I'm telling you, I don't know. It didn't save my audio in the first round, so I had to go to the cloud to get the second. And then finally, just yesterday, when you're like, it's not working again, I went in, and for some reason, my audio was now saved. Like, it went from like Carrie's audio being 13 minutes to Carrie's audio being an hour 18 in the same spot. I don't know what happened.
Holy bananas flambe. I mean,
really
so
hard,
patient.
really challenging stuff.
We work so hard for you guys. I hope you appreciate it.
We work so hard. Speaking of which, I feel like I haven't made money in months, and that's really scaring me right now.
Yeah.
Okay, it is an odd app. By the way, you want to hear a word from our sponsors?
Yes.
Okay, I think it's your turn to tell a story. Did you forget to research a story today?
Forgot to research a story. No, I remembered. You know what? I'm going to tell you this crazy story that I found on YouTube, basically. And there's an article that was on somebody's blog about it.
Blogpost.com.
Well, I don't, it's like.
I'm kidding. I don't know how to.
Well, I'm like, I don't know how to. I actually am like having trouble knowing how to. I want to shout out people, but I'm also like, I've heard. What happened was that a long time ago, I heard this story on a podcast, and then I was like, I want to find like the woman telling it, and then I somehow did find that on YouTube. But basically, this woman, and I don't know how to say her name because it's spelled like this: Tiyi.
Tia. T.
Can I just call her T?
Call her T.
Or Ty? I'm going to call her Ty.
Ty.
T?
Ty.
T? Ty.
Nobody ever introduced her name?
No.
Okay. Ty
it just says it. Like, it's like one of those things where it like says her name on the screen, but I was like, thanks a lot.
It doesn't say it. It just spells her name on the screen.
T. Shippers from Hawthorne, Wisconsin. Or I don't know that she's from Hawthorne, Wisconsin. This story takes place in Hawthorne, Wisconsin. She's visiting. It's a beautiful summer's night, and
a midsummer's eve, perhaps.
A midsummer night's dream, perhaps. Frankly, how weird this story is going to get. So T and her pal Bob, they're traveling together. He's more of a local, but they're still driving quite far. They're going about 90 minutes away to go hear a band that they want to hear in Ashland. And Bob knows the band. They're pals, so it's sure to be a very fun evening. They go, they see the band. It's great. They hang out afterwards with the band. They're having beers. It's like 2 a.m, and it's that vibe where people are putting bar stools up on the table, and you're like, I think you want me to go. So they're like, time to call it. The bar's totally empty, but them. They get in their car. It is a moonless night. It is dark as hell, and they're driving the 90 minutes or so back. And while they're driving, it's all kind of empty. It's no city lights. It's farmland. It's woods. And the only lights on the road are here and there, and they come from the farms. So they're not big road lights. It's like your headlights are all you have. So I just picture it being a classic story where it's like it was a dark and foggy night, and they're like rolling through, and you can see like the fog in the headlights.
Ooh, yeah.
So
the intro to True Blood. Imagine the intro to True Blood.
Yes, totally. Put that music in your head.
I'm doing a bad thing to you.
So then T is like, I gotta go pee. T has to pee. T gotta make a pee. They're about halfway, and where are they going to stop for a pee? I mean, I guess you could just pull over, but a cornfield, that's what I'd have done. But
ticks, you don't know about ticks.
She's like, how long are we going to be? And he's like, ooh, we're only about halfway. And then out her window in the distance, she sees a sort of red glow, and it's a glow of neon. And she's like, look, there's a sign that's on. And as they get closer, they can see that the sign says Roadhouse Saloon, open. And it's on the other side of the street from the way that they're driving. So they kind of flip around, and Bob's like, this will be great, actually. I've heard of Roadhouse Saloon. I've been dying to come here, and it's supposed to have like a really cool mural or something. Let's just go get a drink and you can pee, and then we'll keep going. Which, by the way, it's like 2:30, and I'm like
2:30 in the morning. It's 90 miles.
No, I'm actually like, you guys are amazing. Like, you went and saw a band. Like, I'm so tired for you.
Just reading
and
this, yeah.
And that you're like, well, let's go have a beer. I'm like, I guess there was a time in my life. So they pull across the street. They go into this gravel lot. Crunch, crunch, crunch. There's about 3 or 4 old beat up cars there. And now it's about 3, let's say. But it is, in fact, open. It's one of those bars. So they get out of the car. They walk up. T walks with a cane. And they get up to the door, and it's one of those really heavy, thick wooden doors that like takes quite a push. They push through, and when the door opens and they cross the threshold into the bar, everyone that's inside looks up at them almost in unison and says, hi. And it's like they say it in this friendly way, almost like they were expecting them, she said. It was just so welcoming. It was like, oh, our friends are here. It was like, hi. So they're like, wow, cool. So
great spot. Great customer service.
Great spot. Great customer service at 3 in the morning.
Yelp review writes itself.
Please. So Bob's like, I'll go to the bar and get some beers. She's like, great. I'm going to go over past the bar to where the bathroom is. And he heads up to order. She walks past a pool table and notices there's a couple guys holding drinks, holding their pool cues, standing by the pool table. She goes past the dance floor. She goes past an old-fashioned jukebox, the kind that you play records on, that's like all lit up, you know? And she's like, this place is cute. She goes into the bathroom, and the light's off. She turns it on, goes to the bathroom, turns off the light, and leaves. And as she comes out, Bob meets her and hands her a beer. A young guy walks up to them holding his beer, and he's kind of swaying. And, you know, I mean, it's 3. And he's like, hey, do you want to dance with me? And he's got like yellow teeth. And she like kind of gestures to her cane. And she's like, oh, can't dance. But she said it was like one of those moments where you were like glad that you had a cane, because she was like, great time to have an excuse to not dance with this guy. And he wanders past them and goes to the antique jukebox, pops a coin in, and plays Chubby Checker, Let's Twist Again Like We Did Last Summer. Okay. You know that song?
Yeah. Twist again like we did last summer.
Yeah, it's a vibe. That's fun, right?
Yeah.
When the song starts, a couple of people leave their seats and go over to the dance floor and kind of dance together. And they sit down to start looking at the mural on the wall. And it's huge. It's like wrap around. And they're looking, and it's all these characters that are larger than life. It's sort of an Old West theme. Somebody's sitting at the piano singing, and there's people gambling by a table. And it's really bright colors. She said even sort of garish, and there's footlights illuminating it. So it's kind of a cool effect. And she doesn't know why, but looking at it is giving her like a weird feeling, like an ominous sort of feeling. She can't explain it. And
her blink.
Then the record stops. And so it's quiet in the bar. And then Bob's doing this thing she's noticing where he's looking at the mural, looking around, looking at the mural. And he's like kind of noticing something that they start to talk about where they're like, nobody's drinking their drinks. Like everyone's holding their drinks, but nobody's drinking their drinks. And those guys standing by the pool table are holding their pool cues, but they're not playing pool. They're just like holding their cues, which is sort of weird. Like the only physical action that they witness happening is when they just had seen everybody leave their seats to get up and go dance. And then they kind of settle back down into their original, I guess, positions. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost like they're on a movie set, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like we're marking
actors.
these.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been about 5 minutes. They're talking about that. They're noticing that. And then the guy with the yellowed teeth goes over to the jukebox, puts a coin in, and plays Chubby Checker, Let's Twist Again. And everyone leaves their spot and goes and dances again. And then the song ends and everyone goes back to their places again. It's like a reset. And Bob's like, that was so weird. And he's like, you know what I'm noticing? Look at the mural. And he's like, look at the men standing at the pool table holding cues. Don't they look just like the guys gambling in the painting? And then he's like, and look at that woman. That's her. And he's able to basically pick people out at the bar and find them in the mural. Like it's a version of them. It's like it's an Old West version or something where they're like, there's an IRL version and then there's the person in the mural, but they're matching it. There's the guy playing the piano. There's the bartender. And it's the bartender's this like built muscle guy.
Is this a movie? Are you describing a movie?
No, this is a woman telling this story that happened to her on YouTube. So there's a really muscly bartender and they're like, he's that old-timey looking gunslinger. Like they have the same body and the same build and the same kind of face. And she's like, I bet I know what happened. She's like, we're here at nothing o'clock. These guys are all the barflies. They're like the regulars. So I bet the bar had commissioned somebody, or maybe one of these people was an artist and they were like, I'm going to do us, but old timey. Like I'm going to do this fun mural, but I'm going to use all the people that always come into the bar as the basis for the characters, which is such a cute idea. So she's like, I bet somebody here's the owner because this is like, you know, whatever o'clock. And if everyone's in the painting, somebody's probably the owner. So they go over to the bartender. And as they go up to the bar to talk to him, Chubby Checkers, Let's Twist Again comes on for the third time. And she gets like a chill because she's like, it is one thing to play that song twice because it's like your favorite jam. 3 times feels really fucking weird. Like, are these people like cosplayers? What is going on? And she's like, Bob, maybe we should go. Like, I'm getting like just a weird feeling around these people. It's not that they're like mean or weird, but like something's off here. And he's like, I want to ask the bartender though about the mural first. Let's go up. And he orders another round and he's like, is that you guys in the mural? To the bartender. And the bartender just smiles and just stares. Doesn't answer. And so T repeats herself. Did the artist that painted this mural, she said, maybe you don't, like, so it's a weird question. Maybe you don't understand it. So she repeats it. Did the artist that painted this mural know you guys or paint you guys? Is this you guys? And he still doesn't say anything. And she turns and asks some of the women at the bar and they just look at her. No response. And she looks over at Bob like, what? And he's like, maybe everybody's just drunk. It's like, it is really late. And so they're walking from the bar back to where their seats were to go finish these last beers. And Ty's looking at the mural as they walk. And suddenly she stops cold. She sees 2 more figures she didn't notice in the mural. The doorway in the mural is depicted instead of a heavy door. It's depicted as like one of those swinging cowboy doors. Yes. And you can make out 2 figures, not faces, but like in shadow, like outlines with hints of color at the edges. It's a man and a woman. And the woman's in a skirt. Ty's wearing a skirt. There's the edge of pink in the skirt. Ty's skirt is pink, but the rest is like gray. She's about to tell Bob, and then she's like, oh my God, I can't breathe. She notices the woman is walking with a cane. And she loses her shit. She's like,
this is like an
I am watching myself become part of this mural. We are out of here. They take their full beers, go back to the bar, set them down, and they leave. Everyone at the bar as they leave stands up to watch them leave. Let's Twist Again comes on for the 4th time. They get to the door, and as they're pushing through the door, they hear, wait! And then the door closes, and they're on the other side, and they're back in total fucking darkness. And they are breathing heavily. They just stop. They don't say anything for a minute. And then Bob's like, I'm going to go get the car and pull it around and turn the lights on so you can see. I don't know, you walk with your cane over to the car. He comes back, pulls the car in front of her. And as she's going down to get in the car, they turn and realize the Roadhouse sign that they saw, they're not against walls. They're against windows. But everything's black. So they're basically like, what? As soon as they walked out, did they turn off the lights? What is going on? We should be able to see into the bar that we were just in. It looks like no one's inside. It looks closed. They're like, not going to investigate that. Let's get the fuck out of here. And they peel out and they're just driving. And they're like, don't say anything for a really long time. They realize as they drive out of the lot, there's no cars in the lot. But nobody left while they were at the bar. And they're like, wait. So then they're like, what the fuck? And they've got that feeling like they just escaped, but they don't totally know what they escaped from. So they don't talk, and then they're like, did that just happen? And the other one's like, yeah, that happened. And they're like, what was that? And they can't name it or understand it. And the next day, Ty goes to see her sisters and her cousins. They're all spending time together. And of course, she's a truly darkly creepy. She tells everybody the fucking story. She's like, you're not going to believe some crazy shit that happened to me and Bob the other night. And she tells them the story, and they're all like, oh my God, we should go. We should go to Roadhouse Saloon. We got to go check this place out. And she's like, believe it or not, I do not want to go back at all. But it's a long vacation, and a week later, they're like, let's go. So it's been a week. Ty does not want to go back, but is like, it's hard to argue when it's light out.
Right.
That this is still scaring me and I'm with a bunch of people. It feels really out of proportion. So they drive to the bar and they see it. They walk in and it's the same horseshoe shaped bar and the same mural. But in where she remembers there being an empty dance floor that she kept walking by, there's a bunch of tables. Like you could order food and stuff. And she's like, oh, that's kind of weird, but maybe they clear it at night for dancing. That's just weird. And then where she remembers there being the old-timey jukebox, there is a jukebox, but it's totally modern, and it plays CDs. And she's like, I know it was the middle of the night, but I swear to God, that was an old-timey jukebox. And she goes up to the bartender, who's this young woman, and she's like, hey, where's the other bartender that works here? Saturday night, there was another guy working here, muscly big guy. He was young. And the bartender's like, no, nobody like that works here. And she's like, no, maybe he was filling in for, I don't know, maybe trying to explain. And she's like, no, my dad owns this bar and just me and my dad bartend. And she's like, I came here. It was after 2 a.m. on Saturday. And there was a different bartender. And the woman's like, my dad and I tended bar Saturday. We closed at midnight. But this is a real bar, the Roadhouse Bar in Hawthorne, Wisconsin. And the mural is totally there. And she cannot explain any of the events from that night.
Did she drop acid with the band?
It's such a good question. I wish she would tell us. They do seem like party animals, but I think that the scene yourself in the mural with the cane, the outline, she was like, I felt like if we stayed there any longer, we weren't going to be able to leave.
Yeah.
And we were going to be in some limbo world where we were this mural. We were a piece of this. Have people gone back
and visited at 2:30 in the morning? After the story?
I don't know. I mean, it's such a good question. I'm sure.
Should we?
I would.
Should we?
Mm-hmm. I would. One thing she said that also sort of chilled me was she was, people disappear all the time. Like, people do disappear.
Yeah.
And we all think this person ran away. This person killed themselves and weren't found. This person, something bad happened to them. But when we think something bad happened to them, what does not enter our mind is that they walked into a bar at 3 a.m. and somehow never walked out and are in some limbo world that we don't understand, that is a parallel universe somehow or something like that. And she's like, that could have been me. And I keep thinking I was like a hair away from being that person.
That's creepy. What a fun story, though, Quinn. That's really fun.
Thanks.
Wow, I'm so glad you told that. That's shocking. That's shocking. Ooh. Okay, I guess we should hear from our sponsors.
Of course. We love our sponsors.
Okay, I got this information from alaskalaw.com, CBS, People, USA Today, Inside Edition, Anchorage Daily News, and Alaska. I don't know. I think Alaska just told me this story. I don't know how it works. You have a painting that made people come to life. Me, a state talks to me.
I'll believe anything at this point.
All right, so I want to take you to July 2nd, 2019, so not too long ago. 19-year-old Cynthia Hoffman is invited on a hike with two of her friends, and one of her best friends, Denali Bremer. And so they're like, let's go on a hike. And she doesn't have a lot of friends. Cynthia Hoffman has someone who has some learning disabilities or some developmental disabilities, and she's someone who doesn't really have many people in her life. And so she considers Denali one of her best friends. And so they decide to go on a hike in Chugiak, which is a community around 20 miles away from downtown Anchorage, Alaska. And so they go on a hike. I think this is like pretty normal. I've been to Alaska. I've been to Anchorage. Pretty outdoorsy vibes. So she goes on a hike with her friends, but then she doesn't come home. Her family is very, very worried. They don't know where she went. And so they immediately call the police, and she is listed as a missing person. It is a day or two later that they find her body in the Eklutna River. They see that she has been tied up and that there is a gunshot wound to the back of her head. And she is found on the banks of the river near Thunderbird Falls. So obviously, when they start to look at her last whereabouts, the first people that they're going to check on are her friends, right? The people she went with. One of them is 18-year-old Denali Bremer. And so they start to look at where Denali was, she was with her, and also what Denali's been up to. And so they start to look at her computer. And they find that Denali has been in communication with this guy, Tyler, online. The two of them met on Snapchat, and Tyler has told Denali that he is a millionaire from Kansas, and he is offering her $9 million, but only if she gives him photos and videos of a killing.
Oh my God.
They know this is happening about a couple weeks before the murder. This person online, Tyler, does not name a target. He says that Denali can choose. So they start looking at what Denali's been up to the past couple of weeks. And so Denali gets this. She's 18 years old, and she gets this promise of $9 million if only she kills someone and sends photos and videos. So she starts asking some friends if they want to help her, and she offers them money in exchange. Now, the friends that she is asking for help are 16-year-old Caden McIntosh, 15-year-old Caleb Leyland, and then two other unnamed juveniles. So she has 4 accomplices, and she's offered to pay some of them like $500,000 for the use of a car. Okay, on this hike that she invited Cynthia, I don't know why she sets her sights on Cynthia. I think it's probably because of what I explained. I think Cynthia had some developmental differences. I think that she didn't have many people in her life, and Denali targeted this young woman.
Okay.
Denali invites Cynthia, and along with 16-year-old Caden McIntosh and 15-year-old Caleb Leyland and the 2 other young people, they go on a hike. While they're on a hike, they lead her off the trail. They manage to tie Cynthia up They duct tape her mouth. They then take photos of her, and they take videos of her. And we have, I guess there's a video of them removing the tape from her mouth. And obviously we have not seen this. It was used in the trial. But Cynthia is like, I'm going to tell the police because you're kidnapping me and assaulting me. Then allegedly, Caden, the 16-year-old, shoots her in the back of the head. Her body starts twitching. He recalls placing her in the river. And after the murder, they have these photos and videos. So Denali sends Tyler the photos and videos of her still alive, and a photo of her after her body was pushed into the creek. So they have all of this online. They have all of these records of what had happened. And it is only when they start looking further into who this Tyler guy is that they find out it is, I don't know if you'll believe this is probably really shocking, but it's not a millionaire from Kansas.
Get out.
It is... I actually saw a couple of different ages thrown about for this person, whether it was 19 or 21 years old. But his name is Darren Schillmiller, and he is from New Salisbury, Indiana. So Darren posed as this guy, Tyler, and when they look further into this crime, they realize as much as Denali did not pull the trigger, she is the ringleader of this, right? Tyler offered her this money. But it was Denali who engaged these 4 other young people to go along with her. One of the attorneys said, she executed Cynthia Hoffman in a murder-for-hire plot. She conspired with numerous other individuals in and outside of Alaska, including juveniles, forever altering everybody's life. She may not have pulled the trigger, but this never would have happened if it weren't for Denali Bremer. So they first charge her with conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation of murder, tampering with evidence, and murder in the second degree. But those charges, for some reason, were dismissed, and they got her to plead guilty to first-degree murder. And part of the evidence shown to the judge, this was not shown to the jury, was the video that she had sent to Tyler. The judge describes it as watching one of the most difficult pieces of evidence he has ever watched. She was obviously convicted. She pled guilty to the murder-for-hire scheme. She's 23 years old at the time of her sentencing, and the state requests 99 years and no years suspended. The defense requested 80 years with 20 years suspended. What's interesting is the judge will say that Denali shows absolutely no remorse for the murder and has actually gone on to commit more crimes. In fact, right before the murder, this guy Darren, a.k.a. Tyler, had offered her more money to try to coerce a minor to produce sexually explicit images. And she was successful in this. In addition to this murder-for-hire plot, she also has to plead guilty to federal charges of conspiracy to produce child pornography. And for that, she receives 15 years. Obviously, Darren Schillmiller is also convicted of the crime. He is sentenced to 99 years in prison, and in addition to 15 years for the child pornography charges. It's so sad. It's so sad because then there's all these children who did horrible things. For example, Caleb Leland, he is actually the first person in this crime to enter a guilty plea. 15-year-old Caleb was arrested and he was like, I'm guilty, I did it. He supplied the SUV, and for that he was offered $500,000 for the vehicle. He entered a guilty plea of one charge of second-degree murder, and he got between 25 and 75 years in prison. Caden McIntosh, as of now, the case is still pending because they are charges only, so it's an allegation that he was the one that pulled the trigger, but there's not enough evidence, or they haven't had his trial yet, and Caden is 16 years old. In addition, the 2 other teens that were a part of this murder-for-hire plot were prosecuted in juvenile court for their involvement, but their names were withheld because they were too young. Cynthia's dad spoke at Denali's sentencing, and he said that she had developmental disabilities, but she considered Denali her best friend. Denali was just recently sentenced, and she got the full 99 years in prison for a crime she committed when she was 18 years old. But that's the story of how an 18-year-old got involved in a murder-for-hire plot and was duped into believing that she was going to get $9 million for killing anyone, and she chose her best friend.
What in the world?
Yeah. It was hard. It was the idea that she showed no remorse after, I thought was really troubling and was really just so sad. Mm-hmm. And also, like, it felt like when I was reading it, obviously I didn't get enough, there wasn't a lot about her, I think, because of the ages of all these people. I think they were all very, very young, and a lot of them pled out pretty quickly. But it was the fact that she met this guy on Snapchat, and from that, she produced child pornography, and she murdered a 19-year-old girl.
So dark. Mm-hmm. Get off Snapchat, folks.
You know, the face filters, they ain't worth it.
Always looking.
They ain't worth it.
Always looking for the lesson.
The lesson is like, I don't know. I think, like, whenever we cover a case from Alaska, I'm always like, ugh, it gives me the shiver me timbers.
And Florida.
And Florida. I think, but Alaska, for some reason, because it's so far away and there's so much green space. And, like, to me, I'm like, nothing good can happen there.
Yeah.
Like, why are people escaping? Why are people going where people can't get a hold of them? Like, there's something going on there. It was a short little story, but there you go.
It's a dark as fuck story. I think we both did kind of short ones, but I feel still really powerfully good about the episode. It's summer, and we're talking about depressing things, so you're welcome for keeping it short.
You're welcome for keeping
and you
it
got
short.
A little ghost story in there. Why not? Or
I
don't know
liked
what
your
I told.
story.
Something.
Your story was really fun. Your story felt like it should be on, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Totally.
Or, like, Goosebumps. It felt like Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? Which I like.
And it's been on a few other podcasts. I know for a fact, because when I was Googling it, mostly all that comes up is its coverage on podcasts, since it's not like people are writing papers about it. But I still wanted to tell it to you guys because it's such a fucking cool story. I mean, what a wild ride.
I think she was on mushrooms.
That is not, in my humble opinion, what a mushroom trip would do for you.
I wish he paid in credit card so you could see that they went there at 2:30 in the morning.
Carrie, it was old timey. He can't be paid in credit card.
It was cash only. Who carries cash these days? Yeah, I'm trying to find holes in the story so that I can make myself feel better.
It's so scary. I mean, the whole is that they went back and it was different, and the only witnesses to this having happened are them, but they are two witnesses, and she seems, that's the thing, when you watch the YouTube video, she just seems like a very normal person. So she just gives normal vibes where you're like, I believe you.
I believe you. All right. On that note, we won't end on that note.
I really like that. And on that note,
dude, you know what? You know that feeling where you feel sick and you're like, I know I like am physically okay, but I feel bad.
You know what might help is you should try running over a husky. Don't do that.
That's actually not what I want to do. I just feel like I have some fucking brain fog right now in a way that is
shake it off. I gotta go. Guess what I'm doing?
What are you doing?
Dear readers, I'm headed out of here to go see Koa's film festival this week.
Wait, you're seeing his film? There's 2 weeks of film festivals for the Blue Dragon?
Yeah, this week is his stop motion. No, this week is stop motion. So he won't be in it, but he'll have made a stop motion film.
This is exciting. Did you get to see the Blue Dragon video?
I did. I'll send it to you if you'd like.
I would actually really love to see it. Thank you so much.
He's excellent in it. My mom did write me back probably the funniest email ever when I sent it to her, which is so in her voice that I'll tell you what she said. She said, "Great job, Koa. Impartially, I think he was the best actor. Not stiff. Very relaxed." Which is such a great grandma response.
Really like that. And I
impartially.
Impartially. Like, was your mom someone who... Okay,
She really judged these children's film, and she was able to just step away from her role as grandparent and really have a critic's eye. Yeah. So I appreciate that.
Now, when your mom saw your shows, was she like, good job, or was she always like, I have notes?
Good job.
Always?
Yeah. About me, yeah. She had notes about other people that she wasn't afraid to share. But she was always a fan of mine.
That's good. That's really good.
As mothers should be. Mm-hmm. All you mothers out there, just be a fan. You don't need the notes. Although the notes are fun if they're about other people, because if you don't have something nice to say, sit next to me.
On
like
that
the
note,
pillow says.
on that note, Nanette.